Okay, hello everyone. This is the Drupal 8 Critical Issues meeting for 2015, September 4th. And we'll do a quick round of who's working on what, if anybody's blocked, and then we'll discuss whatever's on our mind and whatever's going to unblock our work. I'll go in reverse order now. Do you want to go first, Alex? I think you want to go first.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I've been all about safe markup and Postgres for the last week since we last did this meeting. So in the last day, we've had safe markup set actually removed from the code base, which is a big win because it was an internal method which no one was supposed to be using, but people were. So now that that's gone, the focus is all on removing check plain, which is an issue we've discussed before on the call. It's 25.45.97.2. And basically I've been splitting out sub-issues from that to try and get like little bits of it in, and now we've got like one more sub-issue to land, which is about the hash options on a form element instead of at the moment the caller having to do escaping, moving, like making that auto escape a bit more like Twig for the values. And we've got a patch and it seems to work. We're just adding some tests around the entity reference field. That is issue. Too many issues. 25.60.86.3. So yeah, that's looking good. Progress on actually removing check plain before Drupal 8. There was a core announcement about that recently as well. There's some work going on around trying to replace, to make T return an object instead of just a string, and the same for safe markup format. And if we actually manage to do both of those issues, we should be able to completely remove the static safe list, which will make it much easier to know when something's going to be escaped by Twig or when it won't be. I'm really looking forward to getting that done. Other big thing is Postgres. We've got green runs on the full Postgres test suite, which is pretty brilliant, and we have one remaining critical that I've been working on, which is we're not able to change from a varchar field to a byte A Postgres type field, which is basically a blob field. And that's actually a bug that dates back. Well, it's actually a bug in Drupal 7. There was a upgrade path issue filed about it 5 years ago, pretty much immediately after Drupal 7 came out, and there was some work done on it, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to work. So now I'm trying to add a test and work out exactly how to deal with it. But Postgres isn't. I don't know it as well as I know MySQL or other variants of that, and so it's a bit interesting. And that is, which issue is that? It's 10.31.12.2. See a nice low issue number. There it is. And that's me for the week.
Yay, amazing. Daniel?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I was mostly working on like update related issues, of which one is the fact that we need something like an API which allows you to update existing content, not just existing config or just raw data structure in the database. And this is 2538.108. Yeah, and other issues, I did some reviews and stuff like that, and the rest, as always, I forgot about it. All right, next one.
Great, Fabian?
I've been mainly, obviously, as you know from the last meetings, container is in and many other things are in. But what I've been working on is together with Wim on the smart cache patch and kind of finalizing our render caching API and things that are needed for release. And also like triaging a little the major queue, taking a look at what is kind of potentially security sensitive, like that Twig sandbox issue, but not release blocking per se. Yeah, I'm still wondering loudly about kind of which changes we will still be gonna acceptable during our C phase, and I'm also wondering about is our C phase kind of hit and then we freeze everything immediately, or is there kind of a warning, like patches, like a slowdown, you know, from 100 kilometers per hour down to 60 kilometers per hour, down to 40, etc., so that we are not hitting contributors with surprise. I mean, the Twitter announcements for we have 4 issues left are kind of like that, in that, but I was just wondering a little about process here. That's at the moment my main thing. But yeah, happy that we're down to 4 or 5 criticals or something like that.
Yeah, let's discuss that after the round because I'll have some questions on the same topic. So Jibrin.
Yeah, so I have done a couple of reviews for lead audience, and since then those issues are committed, and nothing else in the critical queue to report. So that's it for me.
Okay, Francesco.
Hey all. Yeah, I've been working on a couple of critical issues and reviewing the rest. Basically, a critical issue that started as a Postgres specific one, and then it turned out it was actually a problem with our entity storage. So I'm looking for the links right now. Sorry. And then also I reviewed other ones in the issue queue. So basically, that was my involvement in trying to find the links. Here they are. So this is the main one I worked on this week. Here is the link in contribute. So composite indexes are not correctly deleted or recreated when updating a field storage definition. Issue number is 2561129. And then I worked also on refinements and final patches for blocks containing a form include the form action in the cache, so they always submit to the first URL the form was viewed at. Issue number is 2504139. And then I also worked on one index. No, sorry. I reviewed one index is added for content translation UID. The corresponding store schema definition is not updated. And I think that's, oh yes, then I also did some manual testing on the meta issue for the upgrade path. So issues were now closed as a duplicate, so I'm not seeing it in the queue. I will post the link in the Drupal contribute in a minute. And that's more or less for me. I think I was going to review the 2 remaining actionable criticals, but just discovered there are a few more right now. So yeah, I think I will do that, and then we'll see if there's anything I can work on. Otherwise, I will skim through the list of major upgrade path blockers, as Ketch suggested, to see whether I can find some hidden potentially critical bug there. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Catch, want to go next?
Yeah, so I've just tagged beta 15, and the release node is published, like packaging went through. So that's out, which is good. Been reviewing lots of upgrade path issues over the past week. The menu updates one which then spawned several others. What else? Some of the smart cache blockers, there's an RCPC one that I need to review, but I did the beta first. And I've been looking at the node access, adding cacheability metadata automatically for that. Well, I don't think that's really a blocker, but I think people would like to do it as soon as we can. And the API for data value updates, just review that one again a bit. Can't remember the rest. So I think she's not here, but Angie went through the checklist and promoted the JavaScript and PHP vendor library update issues to their own critical issues, because if we're lucky and other critical issues don't come in at a fast rate, then with a bit of luck, by the time we've got to 0 other issues, we can update those and then not have to update them again because something else has come out. So if anyone's wondering why we went from 4 to 8 overnight, that's why. I think that's still shaking out a bit, those issues, but there's one RCPC already. That's about it for me. I think we should talk about things. So next person.
Yeah, very good news about beta 15. Wim?
Yep. So as a few people mentioned, I was working on smart cache stuff, so working with Fabian and others on that and surrounding issues. So for me, it's been auto placeholdering, less so, but smart cache especially so. And we landed a few blockers, including the one that Pledge just linked, the one about blocks containing a form, and so on. That's 2504139. That has landed. That was supposed to be the last blocker, but because that was a different solution than the original solution, it's a better solution though. So that's good. We found a few more small things that were causing failures. So there were a few more small test fixes that we had to make. And in the end, that meant that the smart cache patch contains several, well, like a dozen or so small fixes that were only really apparent with smart cache applied. But Alex Bronstein felt that that would be better to split off into a separate issue, so we did that. And that's the issue that is RTBC that Catch just mentions. It's critical only because it's blocking a critical, otherwise it's a very simple issue. The node grants issue is also RTBC, as Catch just mentioned. I'm currently writing an updated issue summary. I just wrote a handbook page to explain the concepts there and to make sure that Contrib can also write additional ones. And so smart cache is in a really good place, I think. It is getting very, very close. And I think that's all for me.
So I'm the last one. I've been working on all kinds of upgrade path blockers and tests for things, and trying to help others work on those. And then I was working on security stuff for trying to help people figure out what's the impact of replacing remaining placeholders with escaped placeholders, and that became quite of a big drag, because at first it's a very huge issue, and second it changes a whole lot of strings. And I think we have some hope that we will be able to release Drupal 8 this year, and if that would be this year, that would certainly not be around Christmas. So I guess it would be somewhere in end of November or something. And that's not much more than 2 months from now. And we just published our API definitions, where we say that even for minor releases, we are not to make significant string changes at least 2 months prior to the minor release. So this link is for the doc for the APIs. So if we are to change 1,000 or so, or however much strings at this time, then we'll need to support it with very strong tooling for people to be able to adjust their translations at this point in time. So there's some discussion and some preliminary tools in the help text issue. If I can find that one. Where we looked at existing translations and how they are affected. I think it's very important to consider that, and that also factors into the question that Fabian raised about what we're going to allow and how we're going to manage this, because we want to follow and publish some process on how we're going to do this, so people are aware of when they need to act in terms of work that they are planning to do, and that includes translations as well. So that's it for me. And then I think that was the first question that Fabian raised. So if we want to clarify that, or if we can clarify that, that would be great. And then we can also move on to Auckland's other discussion points. Do we have a definition for how we want to do that, Alex or Catch?
So I've got a baby with me, so you might hear her. Yeah, I think until we go to release candidate, or at least a couple of days before taking a release candidate, at least my thinking at the moment is that we should keep going, certainly with major issues, as much as we can. Like, I think it's better to get them in now than it is after release candidate, and it's also better to get them in now than after 8.0.0 is out. But then once we actually hit release candidate, I think we need to switch to very, very, very minimal, low impact patches going in, and not anything that's remotely risky or disruptive to contrib. So in terms of what Fabian said, it would be like a very quick slowdown, a couple of days to release candidate, and then staying very slow as much as we possibly can. But I think until then, it's like if we can fix major bugs, for me, I think we should fix major bugs and try and clear what we can until we haven't got any more criticals to clear. But we're still kind of talking about exactly how that works, and it would be good to get other people's views on this call now. What else do people want to talk about with that? During release candidate, what we agreed like months and months ago was that we only commit criticals, low impact majors, and absolutely zero risk things like documentation updates, and only documentation updates if there's no likelihood of commit conflicts with criticals that are in the queue. So that's what we've got. So it's a pretty short list of things that can go in during release candidate.
So things are like markup changes or something, they are frozen after the RC.
I think they probably are, but we'll need to figure out. But I reckon most things are going to be frozen during release candidate, yeah, because it's like that's when you want people to be porting, like doing the final ports of modules or the near final ports of modules and things like that. But yeah, it does shut off a lot of issues until 8.1, so I think we still need to go through a little bit and try and figure out what's really in or out.
Yeah, I agree with what Kat said. Like, it'd be good to go through the major issues of the areas of Drupal you're responsible for. I've been trying to go through the CMI list for like the past couple of months and kind of failing. But yeah, once we hit RC, as far as I know, the agreement is that strings are frozen, markup is frozen, everything is frozen, and can only be changed for criticals. And yeah, the list that Catch gave is pretty complete. I think that there are a few like kind of coding standards things that would be allowed as well, like when there's zero impact and don't conflict with active criticals.
Just so everyone knows, I'm not sure. I think it's in a document somewhere, but the release candidate is not as soon as we hit zero critical issues. It's on the same day as the Drupal 7 release window. So the idea is that you have a Drupal 7 release window. Those are every 2 weeks. So the first release candidate comes out on the first one of those when we have zero critical issues, more or less. And then we have another release candidate 2 weeks later. So every release candidate, regardless of what's going on, is every 2 weeks. And then one of them is the release, and that's on the same day as the Drupal 7 release. And that just means that, like, when there's a Drupal 7 release and a Drupal 8 release, they'll be on the same schedule, sort of monthly after that.
So technically, we talk about the criticals which are actually like not time dependent, right? So like the PHP and the JavaScript ones. I mean, they could, for some random reason, pop up again.
Oh, you mean there could be a new release?
Yeah, right.
Yes, they could. So it's quite possible. Like we just want.
I mean, especially those are the issues which will be. I mean, they will pop up after the RC again.
Yeah. So I think
So,
once we hit release candidate, I think unless there's a security update, then we wouldn't count a release as critical unless we really thought it was. I mean, say Symfony 3 comes out, maybe we'd do that during release candidate so that we didn't have to do it later on. But I don't think that's likely to happen in the time frame we've got. But so I feel like those are critical until release candidate, and then once it's a release candidate, it's a release candidate. We would have released with it if the other things hadn't come in, and if something updates after that, then it's kind of, well, okay, we did our best. But if a vendor library's got a security issue, then that's pretty cool, and that's gonna be a new one. Does that make sense?
I think so. So does it mean we should also have something like we did with the beta evaluations, an RC evaluation?
Yeah, we probably should have that, but I think it's going to be a short list of stuff. So I'm not sure how much we want issues to have that. Like basically, most issues are going to be like waiting until patch release or minor release. But we should look at at least the page that's there, kind of making it a bit clearer. Maybe have another discussion about it to kind of refresh it a bit. But yeah, something like that.
Okay, Laurie arrived in the meantime. Do you want to go with the report, and then we can get back to discussions?
So it's muted. So I've been working mostly on the safe markup issues, and they are proceeding well. I don't know if Alex already talked about those and what did he talk about those, but I'm gonna keep working on them anyway. Most of the things that I've been actively working on have been fixed or committed right now, so there is not much to talk about right now, I think.
Okay, great, thank you. So do we have other discussion topics then?
I mean, we can always talk about updates.
Yeah, I guess that's the main thing open right now.
So this is probably the following issue, which is 2538108. As we saw on some issues, so what we defined in the hook update n documentation is that you cannot use every API. For example, you cannot use the entity API because that calls out to the world, and you are still not sure in which state your system actually is when you run your update n function. But there are use cases where you actually just want to update either random content, or you want to update an existing configuration and change a value there. And for those use cases, in order to keep a proper system, you need to invoke the hooks/events again. So that issue is about adding something which comes after hook update n, and something which can rely on a fully working environment. So the question is, what does that system need to be able to do? So for example, does it need to be able to have dependencies between those hook update after, let's say that? Yeah, for example, do we need dependencies?
I think that only within the module itself. So if a module has more than one hook update after implementations, it can guarantee the order that they run in, but it shouldn't need to know about any other module's hook update after, I don't think.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. Like, assuming we keep the same structure as hook update n, in terms of you get a number and that gets recorded, like we just run the numbers in order, and that's all you get, and we don't add dependencies. And if we find out later we need dependencies, then we could add them, but that would be an addition later on, and not something that we're stuck with because we've added it now and then we realise it's a really bad idea.
Yeah. Well, it's not that it would be a bad idea per se, it's that it's just like complex and it's difficult to get right. Like, I'm not even entirely sure about the way in which hook update ends are run, right? Like, I was looking at the order of how hook update ends were run recently, and it sorts them by number inside each module, and then it puts them in a big list, and it does a graph on them. And when there are no dependencies between them, what that means is that all the first ones of each module run first, and then all the second ones. So like system module updates don't get run all together, like even if there are no dependencies. So I would have expected like some kind of adhering to like module weight, but there isn't any of that. It's kind of interesting how it runs at the moment. And so the more updates a module has, the more likelihood it will be the first update to run. But anyway, yeah, if we can not do a complicated dependency system, I'm immensely +1 because it's less likely to go wrong.
And as we were discussing yesterday with Next, having a dependency system there also would kind of authorize people writing those update after functions to make assumptions on other function provided by other modules. And actually, the main use case we have identified so far is not actually envisioning that scenario. So we are not envisioning the case where an update after function needs to rely on other modules' logic. So not having dependencies would be another way to kind of approach that situation.
Yeah, another question is whether we should use n as a number or n as any arbitrary string. So should we expose an explicit order in which they are executed, or should they be just executed as they are defined in the file? Or should people not rely on it at all?
it's tempting to not use a number and just go on the order in the file, because using a number implies like schema version to people, and it won't be a schema version, a module schema version, because it's just not. We won't be recording it in the same way, right? You don't want to say a module is on hook update n schema version 8002 and after update version 8005, do we?
Well, it depends how we record the updates one. Like if we record the last one, then we have to use a number.
Yeah,
if you record everything that's ever run, then we can use whatever we like. But I don't think we can record the last one that was in the file.
Yeah, we can't. Well, we shouldn't. I mean,
but I think it's okay just to record all the functions that have run and allow any names, and say that we run in the order in the file, and that we record the names of the functions. So if you change the name of the function, it will be rerun.
Couldn't they get really big though? It could be a few hundred.
A few hundred in state. It's not going to be that big. I wouldn't have thought. But
then if you care, you could also split it up by module or something like that.
Yeah, well, you would.
So,
It would be its own schema collection. Each key would be a module name, and then it would be the list of functions that have run for that module.
So basically, you're suggesting something like look update after and then a suffix?
Yeah, whatever you like, some descriptive name.
So can we rename it like hook update n underscore after?
No.
Okay.
Because
No,
that will clash with hook update.
It would be also really confusing to parse it.
Yeah.
Because, like, and hooks have the disadvantage, or like rather update hooks, that they are kind of like in a straight line, but that would like change that.
So the other question for me is actually, should we put them in another file other than the install file?
I think yes, because that makes it really clear that it's a different thing.
Yeah, I really think we should. Like that will help.
Yeah, that's nice for opcache too, a bit. But I have another question. If we add an arbitrary suffix, doesn't that hamstring us if we want to add hook update after dependency?
No, because you would just depend on. We would make it so you can only depend on that update. It's that it doesn't.
No, I mean, if we had an arbitrary suffix, then hook update after dependencies is an arbitrary suffix. So we can't have any function that follows that pattern anymore. Whereas if it's a numeric suffix, then we can just limit it with a numeric suffix.
Honestly, I don't get that. Why can't? I mean, a dependency is something on a graph, and the graph just depends on each node, and each node is an arbitrary value.
No, I mean, in terms of like literally the hook name,
Mm-hmm.
hook update after dependencies will be an implementation of hook update after.
Well, we could change. I mean, we can get around that.
We can, but it's like we have hook update n and hook update dependencies, and then we have hook update after whatever, and then hook update what. Like I don't know. It just seems like we're just we have to get a work around it.
Yeah, well, the whole hook update n and hook update dependencies is kind of nasty.
That's true as well.
So,
yeah, we can do that, and then just sort of try and find something better. And we don't need it now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But a different file sounds good. Does anyone have an idea what that should be?
I wanted to go with update data because, but yeah, I mean that includes both content and config.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's not entirely clear like when it's executed. What after helps us with.
Well, actually, I think we need to make that clear once and for all. I don't think it needs to be self-documenting at that level. I think hook update data or something like that is more useful for the everyday developer. I mean, you know what you're doing. That it happens after it's actually an implementation detail. If you're actually interested in what you want your function to do actually.
In fact, should we call it hook update entities, because that's what it's going to be doing. Like the 99.99% use case of this is updating entities during update PHP, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's a reasonable thing to call it. Also, if you call it after and you haven't got any other updates to run, then it's not really running after those have run.
Yeah. So hook update data or hook update?
Yeah, the problem I have with data is that data could also mean arbitrary values.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it even sounds a little, it could sound like schema even, and that's certainly something. Or like,
and we have hook views data as well.
That's a problem with the term data.
So should we bite the bullet and call it hook update entities?
Singular or plural?
Well, it's not limited to entities. Let's say you have your, I don't know, custom storage for your custom model storing straight data in your SQL tables. Then you may want to leverage that API anyway, and you're not.
Then you just document it. Like if we name it for like the 99% use case, then it's like it helps most people most of the time. Whereas if we try and name it something general that doesn't really describe like the 99% use case.
Well, we could try to name it in a way that we explain with that word that we are in a full working environment.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, but like hook update for the environment or something.
Yeah. Like hook update full, I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of a good name, to be honest.
Update stable, maybe something like that.
Hook post update.
Hook post update.
Yeah, I think that was like an early one, but we go back to that. I do think data is the wrong thing. Like everything that data is data, right? So, and after's not. It's a little bit esoteric. So post update gets to what after does, but it's a bit more like, this is after updates have run. It's not like update after what, and then maybe that's better. Maybe that's good.
It still has the problem with like the if there are no updates but only these updates.
It does, but it's
better.
Yeah, I think it's better. It's pretty. Yeah, it doesn't feel as bad.
Would it help if updates were classes and you had like a main update thing, a pre and a post?
Updates as plugins.
Not plugins per se, just a directory you can put it in with a number or something like that. But more thinking in object-oriented ways, because it seems we are running around in circles with the old procedural approach.
Well, but we still would need to name it somehow. I mean, the thing is that early, normal, and whatever post are so fundamental different things.
And also, I don't really fancy trying to object-orientate like the update system right at this moment.
It would be super nice, I think. if we could do that.
But
Certainly.
not right now.
Yeah, not right
Please
now.
no, please no.
The thing is, with this, because there's no dependencies, we can add an OO version of this in a minor release and deprecate the API that we're adding right this minute. I have no idea how to do that for hook update end because we'd have to have dependencies between the functions and the classes. But possibly we could even do that. It would just be ugly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to have as a major because then we would get rid of so many commit conflicts and so many projects over and over again. But yeah, I don't think I can cope with an issue on that. I think if you get this name right, that patch is more or less it, and then that's great, and then let's sort it out.
So let's just go for post. Like, I mean, it's not the end of the world. At least it makes sense, and it is a bit better than hook update after.
Yeah,
and it does move it into a more separate namespace than the hook update n, because like hook update n and then there's hook update after. Is that part of n or not? Because it's weird. So yeah, hook post update.
Not the other way around?
I don't think so. It's post update. It's not update post. If I'm updating a post, it feels like I'm doing something in my garden.
Well.
So how about this, that each module can declare only one hook post update, and in that they can check if the schema version is something they want to do this, because it's a post update hook and you can call entity APIs and stuff.
Well, would you then, then you could not like continuously over time add more stuff. Or you would have to check it always or something.
So you have to add switch cases for every update.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did think about just like a single hook with no numbering, but yeah, I think it will get really complicated on like custom sites where you have like update this bit of data, add some stuff, and then change these things to published. It would get tricky.
I'm really excited about this work for real sites because the number of times I've sat there with a real site trying to like run updates, only run certain updates, and then run other updates because I want to do like proper entity work in a hook update. It's gonna make people's lives a lot easier.
So would we then also, for consistency, have hook pre-update?
No. That's hook update n. We try and steer away from that work as long as possible.
Yeah, we have this other issue which is about hook update early at the moment, and it's super tricky because the idea is there that you basically have nothing working yet. So you can just maybe access just the raw data structure. So you just have a database connection and a MongoDB connection and nothing else.
Yeah.
And the fetch system.
The idea is for those to be able to repair update PHP.
And we've not got a critical use case for that yet, have we?
Nope.
So maybe, but not yet. But if we do it, then I guess pre will be the name for it because it kind of goes nicely with post.
Yeah, like hook pre-update.
Yeah. Hook update and hook post update, and so at least we don't have a discussion on that one if we have to do it.
Yeah, the tricky part about the early one is that we basically have to switch the used container during runtime or something. Because, basically what we need is in order to repair update PHP, we need to repair the container or make it possible that the container can be executed. So basically at some point we have one container which might have just a database connection, and then at some other point we migrate over. But to find the exact proper time for that is not that trivial.
So
Just saying.
what would be the convention for this? So it is not going to be a one hook for a module, but how are we going to name it?
Hook post update X.
Yep. And then you get to have some descriptive function name, and we record them all in state.
Yes. Oh yes, just that. Just having a descriptive function name would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we got a plan here.
Is that going to be module.postupdate.php?
I was thinking about that. Paris Liakos' name came into my head, and I was thinking, are we going to do .php or are we going to do?
Yeah, I had the same thought. Well, ideally we should just go with PHP because it's more future proven.
But then it's weird with the install file and the module file.
Well, but Inc is also not something we use at all anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, installed on .module they've been around for so long.
So should we go with .post update?
I don't like a new extension. Like those extensions are okay because people are ready for them. And this new extension, so I'd really go with PHP.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, because then there's no like ID configuration or VI configuration that anyone needs to do. So it just appears like PHP because it is bloody PHP. Cool. Yeah. So .post_update.php.
Oh, here's a question. While working on that this morning, I was looking at the the summary of all the updates which will be executed thing.
Mm-hmm.
And currently we basically show like number dash the descriptive name, so number dash the first or like the doxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that could be now like machine name dash descriptive name, or should we just skip the machine name entirely?
I think we should just skip the machine name entirely because it's not that useful for someone, and it could be long.
Sure.
So just say you're going to just the first line of the function.
It's useful if you've just renamed the function and you've got like 3 similar descriptions and you want to see that isn't renamed, but I mean only for debugging updates.
You could put it in as an HTML comment.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Something like that. But
well, or can't you also use somehow hide things with HTML?
Well, you don't want to make it visually hidden. Like, I just put it in as a comment.
Okay.
And just use the full function name. Whatever. Module.
Yeah.
X.
So Fabian, you really want to go with an OO API, or?
I was just exploring options.
Yeah. It would be great to explore that. Maybe for 8.0.1.
I'd love it. Before we do that, I would much more love a batch API that's OO. Every time I write a batch, it's like, oh.
I would like to have a batch API which can be actually understood.
I think that's part of it, right?
It's like a batch front end to queue somewhere. And I would also love to see that. And it'd be nice to have. Maybe we can have one where we like hard code the dependencies quite a lot for updates, so that it's not something that any of the rest of Drupal uses as well.
Yeah, it's a good question whether we should use 2 underscores to separate up post update from the rest.
We don't do it on any other hook.
That's true. We could like make it a convention in core, but not enforce it. Because I mean, if we just care about the function name and not about the machine name, we could just do it, but like.
I don't think we want to do anything more special casey with this. Like, we don't do it for other. I mean, it would be nice if hooks had done that originally, because like the number of times that you get like clashing with hooks is kind of funny. But like we even had in head like the possibility of clashing with a manager access, a manager entity, because we had update manager access as a method in the update.module. Now that only worked because we don't have a manager entity type, because there is hook entity type access. So, like, yeah, hook names are always going to be tricky with other functions, but I don't think we want to make it special here, because why? It's a problem. And post update, people are unlikely to have functions that clash with that, unlike things which end with access.
Is there something else we can talk about?
Well, it is 11.
Yeah, or 12, yeah.
12. We've had our hour. We could finish on time. Unlike Norway.
Bells are not ringing yet. We may wait for them.
Should we take a minute of silence for the poor leftover criticals?
Yeah, I was looking at the remaining Postgres critical this morning, and I don't think that that's going to be so simple. Like, this whole like type juggling in Postgres is not pretty.
So
Drupal 7 is basically broken.
So yeah, like, okay, so it's a critical in the sense which always existed.
Yeah. And so there's no regression on Drupal 7 because you couldn't change a varchar to a blob for Postgres in Drupal 7. And Googling around the internet, we can make it work. I can actually make the update happen with the code that's currently in head actually works, but it does weird things with backslashes. So the current schema.php for Postgres. Oh, hello, Bells. It does actually do the update, but I'm not sure it's doing it correctly.
So the slash thing is the fact that this was causing the serialized problems, right?
Probably.
Because of weird.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it meant that
I think the problem was that null bytes are somehow double escaped or something.
It's not pretty.
And null bytes are used for protected or something.
This will not be a simple thing to fix. And I'm not sure if what's in head is right, but it does actually do the update. But at least I've got a test now that fails with both the what the patch is changing it to, and it fails hard with that, and it fails softer with the actual escaping and the replacing going on.
With the issue with the backslashes, what happened was the patch got committed and then the issue was reopened and then it sat there for 2 years. But the reason it got reopened was because PHP escaped the backslashes. So the backslashes that we have in head are half the number of backslashes that we need. Did you read that bit, Alex, on the old?
I've been going through it. So yeah, so we need even more backslashes, do we?
I think if you're saying it's right except for the backslashes, we just double the backslashes to 4 and 8 from 2 and 4.
Okay. I think that's what the first patch on the issue did. I was looking at that and I thought I'll try that later.
Yeah.
But you might be right. Yeah, maybe we just need more backslash.
Yeah, and there's a comment from Pixels like, can't we use, I don't know, Strapad or something to instead of having 8 backslashes? Yeah, so it might be that.
I'll give it a go.
That was what made me bump the issue back when I realised that we'd already committed it and it didn't work. It was those kind of handful of comments. So if that's happening, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? You know.
It would be. It would be. I mean, it's hilarious that it didn't even go in with a test, right? Like even if we weren't running Postgres tests, it could have had a test, right?
You know, the test bit would never ever been run.
Apart from by the person who wrote the patch or someone else trying to test the patch on a Postgres system. So it's like we could have said, I don't know, funny.
Well, yeah.
But anyway. Cool. I'm done. And the bells have rung.
Okay then. If you don't have anything else to discuss at this time, then let's get back to crush protocols, back to the nice small numbers.
Cool.
And have a nice weekend, everyone.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.